Vince? Vince? Vince?
What?
No.
What? Oh. What's going on, guys? I'm SuperBeard Vince Hoover, and welcome to Comic Book 101, Issue 15. We're talking Cyborg today. Now, if you notice, the couch is a little empty. I am by myself today. Q, unfortunately, had an unforeseen event that kept him from coming in tonight. But that's okay. I do have some help. That's scary help. That's a little freaky.
We call him help number one.
Yeah, that was help number one, and that wasn't helpful at all. But it's okay. Boss Tech says hi. But Boss Tech actually has an event as well, so he'll be leaving me. But in the booth and with us today is Sidekins.
Hello.
So Dylan, I appreciate you sticking around and helping me out.
No problem.
Well, especially since we're talking about a character that you're actually familiar with, and that's Cyborg. You have some experience with him as well, so that is pretty awesome. But before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors, starting first with Comics and Hobbies. Comics and Hobbies is not your typical comic book store. No, they're more of a pop culture store. Go in and see Craig and the gang, have a nice discussion, learn a whole lot about the business, and while you're there, buy something, because they've got it all. Whether it be comics, movies, anime, Bandai, sports,
Did you say anime?
statue. Yes, I did say anime.
I like anime.
They've got it all there. So, in fact, Comics and Hobbies has an exclusive Bandai deal, so you can actually get figures and statues and toys and whatnot from Bandai before you can get it anywhere else. So go to Comics and Hobbies. They have 3 locations with more of them opening up very soon. You got Clearwater Mall, Tyrone Square Mall, which opens June 1st, Lakeland Town Center, as well as Gainesville and other places will be opening up soon. As you can see on the screen, presented by Comics and Hobbies, your pop culture store. They are also the first retail store to carry Area 52 beard oils. Area 52 Beard Co. is not your typical terrestrial beard company. While other earthly beard oils dry out your beard and their scents last mere minutes instead of hours, Area 52 Beard Co. is completely out of this world. Using cold-pressed oils and nothing but the best essential oils, you will get a long-lasting scent with actual nutritional value that will help your beard and your skin flourish as you go through the moon. Try Area 52 Beard Co. today at area52beardco.com or at Comics and Hobbies. We'd also like to thank Great Rooms. Great Rooms is a proud sponsor of WeBeam TV, having hooked us up with several props and furniture for our different studios and all our different shows. So check them out. They have 2 locations, Spring Hill as well as Newport Richey. Go see Frank and the gang at Great Rooms.
You know, we really got to make a beard oil commercial or something like that.
Yes, we will make a beard oil commercial very soon. It's going to be a lot of fun, actually. I have a lot of ideas. We're going to have a good time. We'll definitely mash heads together. But
that sounds painful, beyond.
No, yeah.
Unless you're Cyborg, of course.
That is true.
Who has metal plates on his head.
He has metal plates on his head, so he'll be fine.
Us a lot more than it would hurt him.
Yeah, he wouldn't even notice.
A significant amount more than it would hurt him.
He wouldn't even notice. So we're trying something a little bit different this time too. You know how we typically do our call in to win trivia at the end of the year, end of the episode. We're actually going to do it right now.
Call now.
Bam.
All right, isn't that fantastic? I love that video. Maybe because I made it, but that's just me. Here's the deal.
A little bias.
I may be a little biased, but call in right now to 813-982-4049. That's 813-982-4049. And the question is this. We posted it earlier on Facebook. Last week we had Craig Sofer from Comics and Hobbies as well as Mark Crofis here in studio. Now, Mark runs a particular Comic-Con that's local here to the area. Comes on April 29th. What is the name of that Comic-Con and what city is it going to be in? Again, what is the name of Mark's Comic-Con and what city is it going to be in? Dylan, you are not allowed to answer.
But what?
You are not. No, you are disqualified. You're disqualified. Does anybody else call in? 813-982-4049. Also, as I am Sans co-host today, call in. Comment, talk, concerns, questions, gripes, moans, call me a fathead. I don't care. Call in. It'll be great. So 813-982-4049. You can call in at any time.
Or if you want to specifically complain about how the fact that Cyborg is now like 98% robot and like 2% human, it's literally just the side of his head.
Yeah, there's no. I don't know. Like, I mean, he still has muscle tone in his arms.
At what point though does he stop becoming a cyborg?
I
and
don't know.
just a
But here,
robot?
let's take a quick look at some of the swag we got today.
Oh, I turn that off.
So we're gonna look here. I'm actually gonna bring this all the way up. This is how I am. All right, and boom. So there's a nice statue. If you see, he's got muscle detail in his arms. So I don't know if maybe it's just like a cover for where he does have flesh. Because there's veins and stuff, and where the piping goes into the arm, it looks actually quite painful.
To be fair, the new Batsuit has veins in it.
That is true.
Like, on the chest plate, and it's kind of like, that doesn't belong there.
Now, this is actually one of my favorite things, because this is a classic look. This is the original Cyborg, where he had a lot of skin, actually. He had the chest and neck and arms, and his weird, like, lacy things on his legs. Almost so like it's good times there.
Almost like wearing, like, a metal, like, football jersey.
Yeah. So now this one is from the new animated series, and this is where one you can really tell that he is mostly just a robot. That one doesn't have any flesh, any musculature, flesh, nothing. It's just all. But if you remember,
are any of these going to be the ones for, in the new Injustice game?
I did not get any figures for the new Injustice game. Now, but those he is actually purposely giving up his humanity. If you remember the storyline, he takes Superman's side and actually gets more and more. Robotics, as I'll sit back down so you guys have to stare at my fat belly. He gets more and more robotics in the game, which kind of help pull away from humanity, allowing him to do the things that Superman wants him to do, which he's not 100% thrilled about, but he realizes there's a means to the end, as it were. So he thinks that what Superman's doing is right, mainly because he's losing his humanity. There were some other ones. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember which. There was it was actually in the Teen Titans animated series, where he kind of like gave in to the mechanical side and gave up his humanity altogether. And then they revisited that in the Teen Titans Go series, but in a much funnier and bubbly kind of way.
That show is horribly lighthearted for scenes that are not lighthearted in the slightest.
It is not horribly lighthearted. I love it. But I have the ability to step away from the characters when I need to. Now, it's interesting to see that if you saw Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, there is the clip about Cyborg where the mother box attaches to him. And it seems like that almost 100% of the mechanics part of Cyborg will be from the mother box. Which is not entirely comic accurate, but acceptable for this movie. Although there's nothing left of him, really. Like, if you see what's left up to him, he's got part of an arm, like a quarter of his chest and collarbone, and then half his face, and that's it. How he's even alive on that board is beyond me. But Cyborg has taken many different iterations since his appearance in 1980. In fact, he appeared in DC Comics Presents number 26 in December of 1980. He was actually just an insert character. He wasn't, I think, he was more of an afterthought character, but he was really brought in as a character very similar to how the X-Men were brought in as a representation of the civil rights movement and racism factors and stuff like that. He was brought in under a kind of self-image reason to get people to like themselves more, because whichever origin you go with, whether it be the original or the new 52 retcon version, it's always been about having to fit in and how he doesn't know where he stands based on humanity and the mechanics, and people look at him weird because he's got a half metal face. That's kind of weird.
And
so
body.
Yeah, and then of course all the prosthetics and whatnot. And I mean, to be honest, it's actually easier to deal with the new version versus the old version, because the old version looked like he was in an all metal like 80s wrestling gimmick.
I was going to point that out about the
unitard is weird.
The animation, they never really addressed that, but he walks around without covering any of the robotic parts. He just kind of, they're like, this is clothes, what are you talking about? And when he went into the city, he never disguised himself. He was just always just bare electronics.
Yeah, in the comics, when he very first had these issues, He actually did throw clothes on. He would wear a hat to kind of cover his face. But in one of his earliest episodes, he ran into a group of kids that were playing baseball and whatnot, and they all had prosthetics. They were a group of handicapped children that were learning to use their prosthetics, and they had no qualms about having a prosthetic. It was cool to them. And in fact, they thought after meeting Cyborg that theirs were boring because theirs couldn't turn into a gun or a rocket launcher or anything else or do anything cool like his could. And so that helped him get out of this negative shell that he was in when he very first started as a character. If you look at his origins, there are some similarities. Both of them deal with his father being one of the lead scientists at Star Labs. In the original story, his wife, Silas, and his wife, I believe her name was Eleanor. I can double check that real quick to make sure I'm right.
Martha, like everyone else in DC?
Yeah, it's not Martha, believe it or not.
Martha! Bro, you too?
Let's see here. Here we go. It was Eleanor. Yes, I was correct. So what they did was kind of illegal and kind of wrong, if you really think about it. They gave their kid these injections of nanites and different things to help increase his intelligence without his consent. They did it from a young age through his wife. So he was like superiorly smarter than everybody else.
Is that a bad thing, though?
It's not a bad thing. They wanted him to succeed. It's kind of a form of cheating, but at the same time, there's not exactly a rule that states you cannot put nanites in your child to make them smarter.
Absolutely is not.
So, there's a gray area there. But morally, do you really experiment? Do you experiment on your kid with a experimental nanite that could...
Listen, we just call that getting dealt a good hand at a young age.
Well, we'll see. But what it did is when he found out about it, he actually quite resented his parents for it. He took it as a stab in the back, as they didn't think he would have been smart enough on his own, even though he's coming from the genes of two brilliant scientists.
They gave him the intelligence of like a supercomputer, though, didn't they?
Oh yeah, he was quite smart.
It's like, okay,
so,
it's like, kiddo, you could have been smart, but we can make you literally smarter.
Yeah, he was pretty much the smartest person on the planet at the time if he had reached his full potential, but he was blocking due to anger. And he met up with a troubled kid who became best friends, and they were doing all kinds of stuff. Although the things he was doing that were bad, he still had a moral compass. And when the guy would go a little bit too far and try these racially inspired terrorist attacks, basically, Vic was like, okay, I'm out. You can go do that on your own. I'm out of this one. I'm just going to go do this thing over here. I mean, he did little things like stole candy bars and skipped school and stuff like that. But he also played sports, which his parents were very much against. It did lead to a lot of injuries because he was very careless in playing sports and in doing the things like the graffiti and whatnot and all these different little mischievous, vandalous things that he was doing. He got injured a lot. He kept getting hurt, mainly because part of the injections didn't give him a fear of things either. So it kind of numbed his sense of things. And he went to confront his parents one day at Star Labs. And in Star Labs, there was an explosion, killing his mother instantly and severely hurting Vic, leaving him just about to die. So his father took him into what's called the Red Room. And the Red Room in Star Labs, if you don't know, is a room that has all of Earth's technology. All of Earth's technology is there. Some form of it is in that room. So in the process, he's dumping all kinds of different things, trying to keep Vic alive. All these different technologies. He's dumped all these technologies we've never even heard of, including the Amazo. For anybody who's not familiar, Amazo is an android that can copy powers. His not CPU, his programming, his software, and a new untested B-Maze. There was the A-Maze program, which was the Amazo, and then a B-Maze was supposed to be a much better version, but it had not yet been tested. He also used that. Prometheum armor style stuff, which is like a nanite armor. All this different stuff. He put it onto Vic to try to keep him alive. Vic, once alive, instantly resented his father, even more so, because he thought he was a monster. Yeah, exactly. He didn't ask for it. So that's part of the part where it's kind of always stuck, where no matter what origin you're reading, no matter what Earth it's from, he's pretty much always resented his father initially for becoming Cyborg because it's not what he wanted.
That's super, super close to the Deus Ex line, I realized.
Yes.
Because Deus Ex, he had died, and then they had rebuilt him. And the first thing he said when he woke up was, "I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be resurrected."
There's actually a lot of times you see that happen. Ghost in a Shell, when you get into the deep of that story.
Yeah, when you find out that she wasn't actually, just, you didn't die. No, they killed you. And
yeah, exactly. There's all kinds of stuff. There's several stories. I'm trying to think of some others. There's several stories like that where you get where you get these kind of characters where they don't ask for this. It's like, you might as well just let me die, but instead they get saved. But it turns out to be a good thing for most of them. So when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit more into his history with the Teen Titans and moving all up into 52. So we'll be right back after these messages. Talk ones are still there. Hey guys, how's it going? Totally forgot I was back. Hey. So, anyways,
welcome back.
We're back. Hey, how's it going, guys? That was completely seamless and totally meant to happen. That's the wonders of live TV. If you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss your cue. So, anyways, Cyborg has, like every other hero in comic books today, Cyborg has died and been brought back on multiple occasions. But
for unnecessary reasons.
But every comic character's death is almost unnecessary, but it's more shocking than anything else. But I will say this. Cyborg has not had conventional deaths. It's never been like, oh, hey, he jumped in front of a bullet to save somebody, or oh, hey, he jumped into the middle of the sun to save everyone, or oh, hey, he, whatever. He's given up his body to save others and had his conscience kind of downloaded against his will. All kinds of craziness has happened, and that's part of the half man, half machine thing, is that he could be hacked. Very much like the Iron Man armors would get hacked, Cyborg could get hacked, and actually Russian scientists had hacked him and were suppressing his own consciousness inside of him.
Superhuman robots with superhuman intelligence making him a supercomputer, and I don't have a good enough firewall.
Yeah, pretty much. You'd be amazed what could happen. So his conscious is literally buried to what is thought to be a completely erased level, but it's not, and it's actually brought back to life when the body is wiped out by a group called the Technies. The Technies were a group of aliens that were literally computer intelligence. Their entire species, they didn't have bodies, they lived inside computers. They were an electronic-based life form.
An entire planet made up of Siri.
Yes, an entire planet of Ceres. And is it Cortana? Cortana?
Cortana from Halo. Yeah, actually, that'd be even more terrifying because she went crazy.
Yeah, it could have been Alice from Resident Evil. It could have been all kinds of craziness. Could have been Hal from 2001.
Honest.
Could have been Hal from 2001. Who knows?
But yeah, so...
But then the thing is, it comes to that. They bring him back. He becomes Cyberion instead of Cyborg because he no longer has a form. And they suppress his humanity as well. At first, it seems like it's a good thing to bring him back, but they're suppressing his humanity to make him part of their collective. Eventually, he is broken out of that and then given a body that Nightwing actually clones Vic Stone's body. I never realized that Nightwing was a geneticist. And I didn't realize that Nightwing had capacity to the money that Bruce Wayne has.
Don't worry, guys.
Apparently,
I'm not Batman. I hate everything Batman stands for. I'm better than Batman. So I'm gonna go clone this guy's body.
It's like apparently he's got. Does he still have a trust fund from the Wayne? I understand that he's actually adopted by Bruce Wayne, so technically, I guess he has his money. I don't know.
I mean, in Judah's contract, he's just living out of an apartment.
I know he lives in like a really crappy apartment.
I'm wondering where he's hiding the genetic growth.
Yeah, it's in the closet.
Puddles or
behind the slated door
tubes.
closet.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not a water heater. Don't touch that.
Can I use your bathroom? Yeah, you gotta use the one down the hall.
Yeah, you gotta...
occupied by what? Oh, and all the allies of mine's growing body.
That I'm growing from a finger or whatever.
Yeah.
Just whatever. I found some skin flakes and I'm making a new Vic. What? But, so again,
turns out I can make a human from dandruff and dandruff alone.
Yep. This is what happens when people have way too much time on their hands.
Nightwing.
Yep. And he had a fantastic mullet.
Yeah.
Nightwing's... We can do a whole episode on Nightwing's mullet. And I might.
So just making fun of Nightwing.
I might just do it. But, so Vic is now brought back, but somehow in the cloning process, he still needs the mechanical body parts. I don't, if you're going to clone the body, I don't get it. It literally has to do we cloned the part, we got the skin fragment or the piece of him from after he was Cyborg, so we couldn't grow the new pieces. We could only clone what was there.
Wait, so
that's not how genetics works at all.
So if he was paraplegic, he'd still be paraplegic.
Yeah, something that is not how genetics works at all. But thanks to you guys doing your research.
Like if Professor Xavier ever came back, ever got regenerated, it's just like, oh my god, I got my legs back, and they just hand him the wheelchair. No.
Now I will give them credit in X-Men. In the few times that Xavier's died and been brought back, he's always been brought back with the ability to walk, and then something happens and he loses his legs again. But
again.
At one point he's gonna be like, you know what? What? Come on.
At one point, no, you know what? The chair's comfortable.
He's like, he's like, if I was resurrected, I would just immediately get in the chair.
Yep.
Professor, your legs work. Not for long, apparently. Something's gonna happen. I'm just getting comfy.
I know the writers well. Give it 20 minutes.
Yeah. So it's like, but so Cyborg needed his body parts again, and of course, as technology has advanced, so has his body, and he's moved through different iterations of technology and pieces and upgrades, and he's done a lot. And including doing a lot is that he's been a leader, and people don't realize that. It was a lot of people thought it was weird that when the New 52 came out, he was a founding member of the Justice League, especially considering he was still technically a teenager in that too, because he was his accident had just happened, so he was just a senior in high school. He was 17, 18 years old. He was just a kid. But he's always had that leader mentality. He was a star quarterback. He always led his team. He knows how to do it. And he helped form the original Teen Titans. And actually, the original Teen Titans were more of a support group for freaks. It was just people who were different that got together to kind of hug each other. Hey, it's going to be okay.
It's like AA for mutants.
Yeah, it's like kind of like AA for mutants. That's actually a good analogy. But Cyborg led that team many times. Although Robin was usually considered leader, Cyborg was the one who really was behind that. And then, of course, with the New 52, he became one of the founding members of Justice League and has led the team from time to time. So he's been in a lot of leadership roles, and it's because of, one, what his parents had gave him with the technology, and two, just having that, even though he's done bad things, and when I say bad things, he did, teenage things like vandalism, graffiti, whatever. He's always had a great moral compass, and he wouldn't allow it, people to get in the way of that, and he's always done the right thing when he had to. And he's always been, he's a character, too, that doesn't really have a love interest.
I think that lack of fear thing is really what kind of drives his leadership, is the fact that he doesn't fear his own death. So he's more than willing to be the first one to charge in, lead everyone in, and go, "Don't worry, I'll check the corner first."
Yeah, absolutely.
As everything explodes around him, he turns around. It's good. He'd be missing an arm. He's like, "Nah, it's good now. Don't worry."
I think part of that too is the fact that he understands now more so than ever what he can do that a human can't do. He has, especially in the new Rebirth, which issue 1 is right there. I highly recommend pick up. All these Rebirth comics have been phenomenal, and then this one is no exception. He truly steps up and understands that he is that bridge between man and machine, and with the Mother Box technology, he is that bridge between humanity and extraterrestrial technology as well. So he understands he's basically an ambassador. In the Flashpoint paradox, when the Flash went back and screwed everything up, because that's what he does with time, he was actually the golden child. He was the one, when Superman didn't crash land in Smallville, he crash landed in Metropolis and was picked up by the government immediately. Cyborg took over that spot that was vacated by the absence of Superman as the Boy Scout, the big time superhero. So he was a government funded project versus just his father doing it, and he was called in on all these missions and different things, and he led the army. So he had control over a lot, and he was tapped into everything. So that was pretty impressive. And in that one, he was much like, and it's right here. Oh no, this isn't. That's Justice League War. My bad. Sorry. The Flashpoint one, he's much bigger, and he's actually older because again, Flash's ripples changed everything. So he was born much earlier, but he's always had that leadership role, whether it be the Teen Titans or it be the Justice League.
Or the entire United States Army.
He's run it all. So he's a great character. He's underrated. I still feel underrated. I understand a lot of people are like, whoa, why is he going to be in the Justice League movie? Mm-hmm. Kind of because he's actually a big deal. He, in this new, like I said, the new Rebirth has really even pushed it even further, just how just cool he is. And he falls under that icon. He was in Super Friends. People don't even realize that. He was on Super Friends. He's been in more animated movies than I think any other character, except for Batman.
Because Batman makes appearances where Batman doesn't even belong.
Yeah, I think Batman's the only one who shows up in other places where he doesn't even need to be. But like the Teen Titans movies, the Teen Titans animated series, the Teen Titans Go, and there was one before that, Young Justice. Yeah. Oh no, he wasn't in Young Justice.
I think he was.
Was he?
Pretty sure. I'll look it up. But
yeah,
I also think it's one of the reasons why he's thought of so heavily as just a supportive character, is because he gets thrown into so many different stories. It's almost like he is just a support. He is being just sent to help that group at that specific scenario.
Yeah, that is true. I can definitely see how he could be considered support, because he's always he's almost like a filler kind of guy.
He's not exactly because when he comes in, he's not leading. Like, granted, he may lead a little bit, but he's more of just, I'm here to help everybody for this story arc, and then I'm out.
Well, I'm really hoping that his appearance in Justice League
won't be that.
Won't be just support, and it'll be enough to garnish his own movie. Because I think there's a lot more depth to this character. And I know they've talked about doing a Cyborg movie, but it's not been 100% locked in. But it would be, a really good to see, because
it would be a very niche movie.
Maybe, but if they did it right, I think you can get a lot of depth out of that character, because there is a lot of depth there. If you really tug on the whole, I don't know where I fit in storyline, he could really have a great movie. I think you could almost be very similar to like Captain America's first movie, or second movie, where he was having trouble fitting in, and now he's a man out of time. If you did it right, you could actually have a movie that wouldn't even require that much action out of him. And it would actually be a really well-done, character-driven story. So that would be really cool. So real quick, let me reiterate, that's not a word, reiterate the trivia question, so you can call in. We had a guest last week, Mark Karafis. He runs a Comic-Con. What is the name of that Comic-Con, and what day or what city is it going to be in? It's going to be April 29th. What city is it going to be in, and what is the name of that Comic-Con? Call 813-982-4049. Yes, it is in Florida. 813-982-4049. We're going to go to commercial, and when we come back, we'll discuss Cyborg just a little bit more. All right, guys, and we're back. So, I would list the powers and abilities of Cyborg, but they're kind of almost endless, especially now, because he has the ability to tap into every technology in the world. He's constantly tapped into the internet, and he can literally tap into anybody's phone. He can morph his body into whatever. The Mother Box gives him the ability to morph his body into several different weapons, including weapons we've never even seen, weapons from the planet Apocalypse. So
you know, a lot like an iPhone. There's an app for that.
Yeah, there's an app for that. I kind of want him to have that on his chest. Parademons? There's an app for that.
Just like, you know, on his wrist, it's like he can swipe it over. Yeah. Like, what is that? iPhone? Not even close.
Exactly. But what was great is that, again, in part of them trying to make Cyborg a more viable character, during the Justice League War event, excuse me. Pardon me.
During the war event.
Yeah, he actually is the reason why they win. In the comic book, much more so than in the cartoon, they kind of made it more of a team effort win. But in reality, in the comic book, and I say reality like it actually happened, his ability to, because he's grafted with a mother box, he can tap into the boom box, the boom portals of Apocalypse, and he eventually reverses the boom tubes. That's what they're called, and that's really hard to say. But he reverses them, sending all the parademons and warriors and Darkseid himself back to Apocalypse, and locks them out for quite a long time. So he's actually quite an essential character right now in the DC universe, and the fact that he has that connection to what is essentially the new gods. DC has a saying where there's the old gods, which are the gods of lore, like, you know, Norse mythology, Greek mythology, whatever, and then there's the new gods. Those gods die, the new gods take over. The new gods are well, basically like Apocalypse. Apocalypse is the new god, or not Apocalypse. Sorry, Apocalypse is the planet. Darkseid is one of the new gods, and so in other words, every time they fight Darkseid, they're fighting a god, a character with god-like powers and abilities, to which most have not even been explored. So to have the ability to tap into the technology that they use there, and to be able to do all this research in literally nanoseconds, it makes the Justice League have an advantage to where they were at once at a disadvantage. Because even with Superman as great as he is, he's not a god compared to like Darkseid, who is.
Is.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're at a disadvantage there.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh god, what do I do? Oh, we got a message here. Let's see what our fans are saying. My show is not being broadcast on YouTube.
Sure it is.
No. Looks like moving forward is on WeBeam, I mean. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, the live page has...
I'm looking at it right now. I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, that's weird. I got a screenshot of it, but that's okay. Maybe it's YouTube.
Point being, I'm looking at all of them right now, including the machine that's running your show over there, and it's running just fine.
Does, oh, you know what it was? They probably tuned into a little bit too early. Considering I think Moving Forward was playing between...
It was playing before this.
Yep. Our brand new show, Deborah Law, started today, and she does come on before we do, so we're excited for her. Life in Law with Deborah A. Diaz was a success for her first episode, and I recommend everybody tune in and watch that.
But you know what really Deborah is not?
What?
You know what Deborah is not?
What is Deborah not?
Not a cyborg.
She is not a cyborg. And as a matter of fact, none of us are. Too many people... Although, actually, it is another great thing about this character is that Elon Musk, the guy behind Tesla and SpaceX and all the other stuff, he has a thing. There's a thing called the 2045 Initiative, and that's where a lot of people feel that we're going to be replaced by technology or have to integrate ourselves into technology by 2045. And Elon Musk is actually working on this and has figured out a way to download our conscious onto artificial intelligent computers.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, which is kind of a scary thought. But many of his medical companies' breakthroughs have also been like cybernetic arms. And when I say cybernetic arms, it's a prosthetic arm that you have full control of. Like it's fully on. And that's the difference between a
prosthetic. To your nervous system. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's the difference between a prosthetic and an actual robotic arm.
Yeah.
As this one is actually linked to it, and you can actually move it in full 100% articulation and usefulness.
Pretty close.
Yeah, we're not quite to the...
It's not like, okay, so it's not like you've seen, futuristic movies in which it's, where the actor's wearing a glove that's metal plated and you can move it around in full. There definitely is delay to it, but when you think about what happens in people's daily lives, going from a prosthetic, which is just an arm that sits there and doesn't do anything, you can't move it more than what part of your arm is still real.
Yeah, exactly.
To you have, you can move your arm back out, you can close your fingers around something, you can still use your fingers. They might not be the fastest things in the world, but they're still functional.
Yep.
And the fact that the human race has figured out how to do that and reconnect it so you can do it by thought.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And if you look at it, like we're not far away from like Luke Skywalker. That's an awful term. Luke Skywalker prosthetics. Like we're getting there, and most likely before 2045, we will have full cybernetic pieces that we can use. At least when it comes to the outer extremities, like say, the arm and hand, or your legs or something. The scary part there is how strong do you make it? Is it hackable? That's the scary part. Back when Cyborg was invented in the early 80s, or matter of fact, 1980, hacking wasn't even a thing. It really wasn't. Now, granted, we had movies like...
It was people guessing your password, honestly.
Yeah, it was... Well, we had movies like War Games where the guy kind of accidentally hacked into the Pentagon, but that was a movie. And one of the things that we were like, that can't actually happen. Nowadays, people can hack the Pentagon from an iPhone. It's crazy what people can do. And Governments are hacking other governments. There's all this craziness that goes along with this internet connection and technology as a whole. So, because one of the arms I saw at one of those 2045 conferences was a Bluetooth-enabled arm, where they could have their phone actually integrated into their arm, almost like a smartwatch, but over their whole forearm.
That sounds dangerous.
And yeah, so again, it was literally like touchscreen the whole nine. But like, what happens when somebody hacks it and you start punching the crap out of yourself? Like you just beat yourself to death because somebody hacked it. So. Deus
Ex, Human Revolution covered that in the last 2 games that they released.
Well, I mean, it's kind of there's a Big Brother thought behind it. 1984, but even when that book was written, which is not written in 1984, they thought in 1984 we were already going to be taken over the government. But that book talks about how they're watching us and blah, blah, blah. What happens when they have a hold of your subconscious because they can hack into your parts that are connected to you? It's kind of a scary thought. When we download our consciousness, is that hackable? Can they change your personality? Is that even a thing?
You will unwillingly conform to what they do.
Exactly. Like that's a very scary thought.
Now, granted, it's on the opposite side of that coin. It's a two-way street. They
Absolutely.
Also not do that.
Yeah, it could happen.
They could be like, "Wow, guys, look what we've done here. This is amazing."
And the thing is everything happens with the best of intentions. But that's one of the things that's been great about Cyborg, is that. Of course, they've almost always gone worst case scenario style when they write them, because that's what makes the conflict for the reader to really enjoy and watch
really enjoy.
Yeah, it makes him see him get out of it.
It hooks you.
But they've covered a lot of that in his storylines about being hacked or his limitations as technology. Because there was the Throne of Atlantis storyline in New 52, where the Justice League gets captured and gets locked underwater. They get locked underwater, and Cyborg has to decide, because his dad's like, look, I got a way for you to go underwater. You can deal with the pressure, but you have to give up your human lung. We have to replace that. So he had to like, do I give up another piece of my humanity for technology purposes just to go save these people, which he of course eventually does, because he makes the realization that humanity is not a body part. It's what's inside of me that counts. It's
the willingness to sacrifice that long.
Exactly. That's what makes
him more human than he even was before.
Exactly. So he didn't actually lose humanity; he gained some. So that was the end. But that's a great story. Like that's a really deep and well thought out storyline that people need to read. These kids read that and just it's almost a subconscious thing of, oh wow, sometimes you got to make sacrifices to do the right thing, and that gets implanted in young kids and even in adults who read it can see that and go, wow, that was definitely the right thing to do. We got one more break to take. We're going to take that break now, and when we come back, we'll discuss this some more, as well as some other stuff that's coming up in the comic book world. We'll see you when we get back. All right, we are back. Welcome back to Comic Book 101. I am SuperBeard Vince Hoover, as always. We are talking Cyborg today. Cyborg is making his first big screen appearance right in Justice League, and I couldn't be more excited to see it go. Now, I kind of want to talk about the design, and I should have got a picture of this, you guys, and I'm sorry I didn't. But Dylan, you and I have had this discussion before. I'm not 100% sold on the design for the movie.
I'm not. I agree. I completely agree with you.
It's very almost skeletal. It's very thin, very emaciated.
He's big.
But he's got a thick chest. But then, like, the connection from here to here is like
puppet arms.
It's almost like puppet arms. It looks very like the knee area. It's very skeletal. I'm hoping that's a post-production pick. Like it's not like a finished product kind of thing. I'm not happy. And it's not because all superheroes have to be big and bulky, but
Cyborg out of all of them was big and bulky.
It's not only that. Like you lose even more of the humanity aspect when you have what looks like literally just, like you said, puppet arms and puppet legs. Like I
know people don't want to always use it as a comparison, but you have to look at the I really like looking at the Cyborg from the animation.
Yes.
In Cartoon Network. Fantastic. He looked amazing.
That's one of my favorites too, because I love that the blue wires, the glowing wire kind of look.
Yeah, they didn't
that was really cool.
Go gray and silver like he was in the past. They
completely there was a great look to it. So the Teen Titans before the Teen Titans Go version, he had a great look. Now, on Teen Titans Go, it's a similar take on it, but obviously more cartoony and more bubbly. But it's kind of like a Teen Titans meets Powerpuff Girls, which actually was an episode on Teen Titans Go. But I'm a little worried about the movie look, but I can forego the look if the performance is great. And Ray Fisher, who's playing Cyborg, is one heck of a Broadway actor, and he'll be making his big screen debut in this film. So I'm looking at big blockbuster debut. He's done a film or two before, but
this is definitely going to be one of the biggest films he's done.
This is definitely the biggest film he's done, but he's got a great supporting cast to help him along. The other rumor is if he doesn't get his own film, he'll be part of the Flash film, which of course we're all still up in the air on the Flash. I'm not 100% sold on. I'm not even 50% sold on Ezra Miller being a Flash. Let's be honest. I think Grant Gustin has nailed it on the show, and I think there's plenty of actors who could have nailed that role so much better than Ezra Miller. But again, I'm still going to go into it. I'm still going to go see it. I'm still going to go see it opening night. You're not going to keep me.
Go see it a few times.
Yeah, I'll probably go see it a few times. Like you're not going to stop me from going to see it.
Like Batman vs Superman.
Yep, saw that multiple times. Watched it multiple times. I'm not even sure why people consider that movie to be so terrible. I get there's bad points, but especially if you watch the extended version, it's really, really good.
It could just be the fact I don't like Superman, but
that's where I think it's where a lot of people, because like Man of Steel is it's such a terrible movie. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, okay,
it was awesome.
That's one thing actually I didn't want to rant about it on this show because it's not relevant, but I realize it really is actually. Mm-hmm. Cyborg never had what I call the Superman dilemma. Superman was by ideal perfect.
Pretty close, yeah.
He didn't struggle against things. Cyborg constantly had to struggle.
Yes.
It was his suit wasn't strong enough. He had to make a moral decision. He had to give up a lung. You don't see Superman giving up a lung. You just see Superman going, doesn't hurt me, so I just do it.
No, you're absolutely right.
I think that's my problem with a lot of heroes is they don't have those really hard hitting dilemmas that certain other heroes do.
Well, I'm hoping that we get to explore those in these movies. Like Aquaman has always had to struggle because a lot of times defending Atlantis means going against the humans, and defending humans means going against Atlantis. Yep. And he's from two different worlds that are on the same planet.
But he's got to fight for both of them.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a huge dilemma there.
I completely. I think that's why I like people like Spider-Man. Spider-Man has he's despite being
with great power comes great responsibility. I mean,
Yeah.
there's that whole story arc there, and technically, Superman lives that whole great power with great power comes great responsibility story arc. But when you have,
but with less at risk for him.
yeah, when you have near omnipotent power,
Yeah.
when you are almost at God level because of the abilities you can do, you don't struggle as much as they show him struggling with it. It's either you do the right thing or you do the wrong thing. Like it's like you do the right thing and you're not going to be worse off for it because 9 times out of 10 there's not going to be a villain that can really go toe to toe with you.
Yeah, it was. I think it was made most prevalent in it was one of the Justice League movies when Hal Jordan had figured out that Batman had no powers. He was just a guy in a suit.
Yep.
Because
that was in War, Justice League War.
Yep, because Hal Jordan had that whole dealio of, once again, near omnipotence. He's like, as long as I can think it, I can create it. He's like, I'm safe. Batman has none of that. He's like, no. He's like, I lose a lot, actually. He's like, I've lost partners. I've lost sidekicks. I've lost Robins. He's like, if the people leave me, he's like, it's become a normal thing now. He's like, I've experienced loss not just of my parents, but I've had to make horrible decisions for people and myself.
Yep.
And I feel like other heroes haven't experienced that, and because of that, they're very hard to watch and hard for me to relate to, so I can't do it.
And you know what? That would be one of the problems, I think, in the DC universe, is that you have these characters that are harder to relate to because they're beyond iconic. Even Batman, who is relatable in the sense that he's lost so much.
He's still hard to, though.
He's still hard to relate to because, one, he's a multi-billionaire. 2, it's all this whole dark and brooding, and he is literally human perfection.
Yeah.
Like, he is literally... His body is what would be considered perfect. His abilities and training and mental status are what considered perfect in the human realm. It's hard to relate to. That's one of the reasons that I like Marvel so much is because a lot of their characters are just flawed.
Yes.
Like Captain America, who is a super soldier, is still very flawed. And even more so now, this whole Secret Empire thing, which I don't really want to get into, but... We all have heard, we've all heard what's going on there, and with Captain America now a Hydra agent.
But you're absolutely right. As in, DC characters have always had I think it's really because it's because DC treats them as if they're so iconic that they're like trophies. You can't get them tarnished. They're like fine china. They're like no, they can't break. Yet here we have in all of the recent Spider-Man movies, and I'm sure they reveal it in the Homecoming trailer, the Spider-Man gets dumped on.
Yep.
Like multiple times over.
Yeah.
And he loses and has to come back from that loss.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's a little, it's almost disheartening to see them come back sometimes because, man, I think villains are cool sometimes. Man, villains are cool. Deathstroke. Now.
Yeah, how's that going?
For now, I will hold my banner until that episode comes out, and then I will...
That issue should be out, I believe, next month or the month after. That's going to be interesting.
Something he'll wake up and realize I like money way more.
It's going to be an interesting take. I want to pick up more of the Rebirth. I do like what DC's doing with the Rebirth. I do think that they're not only bringing back the legacy of these characters that got lost in New 52, but they're humanizing them a lot. Like in the Aquaman series, he's flat out like going toe to toe with Superman. Like, look, just look, sucker, don't.
Super what?
Yeah, and that before couldn't have happened.
No.
So
I was like Super Friends, Aquaman, and any iteration of Superman.
You know what's great about it too is that in the next panel, Aquaman's wife Mera knocks Superman on his butt. So they're being humanized a bit. Batman is the Button storyline, which is about the Watchman or the comedian's Button appeared in the Batcave, is just about to pop off. And in that, Reverse Flash from Flashpoint comes back, who was killed by Thomas Wayne, who was the Batman in that version.
Yep.
And then he wrote his son a letter for Flash to take back to him.
That scene, by the way, still brings tears to everyone.
Yeah. Well, the Reverse Flash finds the letter and destroys it. in which you see Batman. Yeah, you see Batman completely lose character. Like he completely just.
Because he's human. He's still.
You see an emotional side, and I thought that was awesome. You're going to see in this the DC Rebirth, Cyborg. The Cyborg series is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. It's much more diving into the issues he's having of being that bridge. He actually, like, if you noticed, if you saw the animated movie or you read Justice League War, the Mother Box technology actually talks to him and actually tries to take over. A lot of times they're like, well, no, we need to do this, defensive protocol, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, nope, that's not what we're doing. And that struggle is being shown even more in Rebirth. And he's basically like, he's literally having internal battles with the programming inside of him. And that's an amazing thing to see because it doesn't make him one-dimensional. It doesn't make him like, oh, he's the Tin Man. He's the guy, he's the Swiss Army guy. He can just turn his hand into whatever and we're good to go. No, it shows a real struggle and it's really, really cool to see. I highly recommend everybody pick up the new DC. Start with DC Rebirth. Just go get all of them. Deathstroke, Suicide Squad, Batman, Superman, Flash.
Take a chunk of your next
Teen
paycheck
Titan.
and enjoy all of them.
Take your entire paycheck. Go to Comics and Hobbies with your entire paycheck. Get them all. And if you want to subscribe, tell them Comic Book 101 sent you. You get 25% off the Life Adapt subscription no matter what. So go down there and get those comics. I highly recommend them. It's quite amazing. I'm going to give the Marvel Secret Empire storyline a chance. They aren't very thin ice with me as they are with everybody else because the storylines lately have been subpar at best and the timing has been awful with delay. So we'll see how it goes. I've got issue 0 here for Secret Empire and we're going to give that a start and we're going to keep going with that. But I'd like everybody to just give this movie a chance. I see so much...
Cyborg specifically.
Yeah. I see so much hate on this movie, and I don't understand it. Because we have been begging for a Justice League movie, and they're going to do it well. It looks good. DC's understood that they don't need to go super dark, so there's more humor in this. If you saw the trailer, I mean, like Aquaman jumping off the Batmobile, just that in and of itself was amazing. The things like
Aquaman himself looks awesome now.
Yeah. I mean, all of them look great. I'm hoping that Cyborg gets a slight redesign before the movie's final iteration comes out.
Maybe a little more beef up.
A little more beef up. I'm holding my breath on Flash, but you know what? As long as the other characters are there, the humor seems to be there for the Flash, so we'll see how it goes. I'll give him a little bit of a try. I'm not super keen on him having armor, which is a little weird, but you know what? I can accept that because in the real world, if you were running that fast, you may need actual armor versus clothes that would just rip apart.
Yes.
So maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a little more scientific reason behind it. I'll give it a shot either way. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Please be here next week. Next week we're going to be talking the Trinity, DC's Holy Trinity. We're talking Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. We're going to wrap up our Justice League series with the Holy Trinity of DC Comics. We'll talk about those three, their partnerships, quick backstory on all three of them, and we're going to see how it goes. I am SuperBeard Vince Hoover. With me today was Sidekins, Dylan Gaston, and I greatly appreciate you being with me, Dylan. Thank you very much. And to everybody out there, keep reading comic books, keep watching. God bless, and we'll see you next week.